Yes.
My name is Adrian Amandi. I'm the director of the Education Resource Center at the California School for the Blind. I'm super excited about today's Tuesday Tea. We get not one, but 4 different orientation and mobility specialists from the Braille Institute. For those of you who are not familiar with Braille Institute of America, check out their website. They are a huge presence, not just in Southern California where their direct services occur, but on a national scene with things like the Braille Challenge and Cane Quest, and more recently with youth programs and things being online and able to bring in more students. We connect with them directly on trainings with their youth programs, with planning for the CTEBBI workshop, and gratefully now with Tuesday Tea. So Keema, Brianna, Gricelda, and Karen, welcome and thank you for participating in Tuesday Tea, and we're looking forward to what you have to bring today.
Thank you, Adrian. So my name is Karen Mayes. I'm the Orientation Mobility Specialist lead at, I'm at the LA Center. And today I have with me 3 wonderful ladies. We couldn't have the entire team with us today. But as Adrian said, we do provide service to we have centers, 7 different centers. We have Santa Barbara, San Diego, Laguna Hills, and Leanne is from Laguna Hills. She's not here with us today. We have our Anaheim Center, and that's Hal and Mari Carmen. They couldn't be with us today. And then we also provide service to the Coachella Valley Riverside Center, and that has our newest O&M, Sylvia, and but unfortunately they couldn't be with us today. So it's just the 4 of us. And so I introduced myself. I'm Karen. I've been an O&M at Braille Institute for the last 8.5 years. And I work at the LA Center. And Keema, you want to introduce yourself?
Thank you. Hi, I'm Keema McClung. I'm an O&M specialist in San Diego, and I've been with Braille Institute for 33 years. Thank you. Brianna?
Hi everyone, I'm Brianna, and I'm the O&M specialist at our Santa Barbara Center, and I've been with them since 2018, and I got my degree at Cal State LA, and we'll pass it on to Gricelda.
Hi everyone, my name is Gricelda Pena, and I have been an O&M instructor for the past 8 years, and I have been at Braille Institute in LA for a little over 2 months, so freshly new.
Yay.
Yeah, thank you. I have a question for you, Brianna. Can you please describe how you as an O&M instructor adapted to the new situation when the stay-at-home order first began?
Sure. So we started out focusing on wellness calls to our students. And during those calls, I started to gather information and create a resource guide with local information and links to websites and just general information about the pandemic, and then specifically resources for people with visual impairments, getting connected with local food delivery services, transportation, and things like that. Keema will go more in depth into that. But and then as part of an O&M team at Braille Institute, we were actually pretty disconnected before the pandemic. We rarely really spoke or had meetings. And so my first thing was getting our team together, and we formed a Zoom meeting, which now has become a weekly Teams. We use Microsoft Teams at our organization now. So getting together via Zoom, via Microsoft Teams, and start to kind of brainstorm creative ways to engage our students at that time, and then also adapt our work to the virtual world, which we'll get into later. But I think that's mostly what I wanted to say here. And then Keema, I'm gonna have you answer the next question, which is, how did you initially reach out to your students as an O&M instructor, and maybe go into more depth on how we did that?
Thank you. So We were calling students to ask them how they were doing and what they needed. We were working on getting them connected to resources such as transportation and food options. We were sharing how to get automatic COVID-19 county updates and how to use 211, ensuring they were getting Braille Institute updates and announcements about our services like Connection Point for technology, counseling support, and low vision and library services. We were mailing loaner canes and cane tips to students in need, reading and discussing articles with students from around the globe on what blind people were experiencing during the pandemic, as well as O&M articles from places like Vision Aware and brainandlife.org, articles on all things wellness like safe exercise, healthy eating, and restful sleep. Students also helped us with resources. For example, one student continued his work as a volunteer at a local food bank, so we were able to share updates on this valuable resource. And another student's son is a researcher in fall prevention and volunteered to share his knowledge with us at our workshops. Karen, what was the first task developed by the team?
So after we began calling students, we tried to figure out a way to continue working with them, on that one-on-one virtual setting. And in the process of making calls, one of my students had asked me, what are the other students doing? How are they getting along? Is there a way that we can get this group together and we can talk amongst each other? And I just thought, wow, that's a fabulous idea. So I brought it back to the team, since now we were meeting via Teams, and we just thought, like, what could we do? What type of information could we provide them that was the most meaningful and important to them at this particular moment? And so the first thing that we did was we tried to figure out, like, how would we teach social distancing, using Human Guide, because a lot of them, we can't see what 6 feet apart is, right, as a visually impaired community. So it was, okay, what would we do? So the wonderful thing about our team is that we have O&Ms who have been in the field for 36 years, 33 years, and then brand new, well, not brand new, but new to Braille, and so we just have this wealth of knowledge. So we brought it together, and we just kind of like, well, we would want them to, wear gloves and have our masks on, use more of like, oh my gosh, now I'm blanking, but, just kind of creating distance, using maybe an arm, your arm in narrow passageway as a way to create even more distance. And so then it was like, okay, what do we do now? And so we didn't have any pictures or anything to demonstrate that. So I was like, okay, let me get my kids. So I grabbed my kids, put a mask on them, put some gloves on, let's go outside, took some pictures. And that's kind of how we developed, what we felt was the best way to do some social distancing. So we did that. And basically, we just made it up as we went along. Like, what did we feel was the best thing for our students? So that was great because it brought along conversations. It brought about discussions. When we brought it to our, we ended up creating this forum amongst all the centers. We all came together. We created this one forum, and we had students calling in, and then we kind of hopped it along. We went from Anaheim Center first, then we went to Santa Barbara, San Diego, and we just all presented on this. And it was great because at that point, students can say, oh, well, I'm doing this and I'm using my voice and I'm asking the person in front of me, can I move up yet? And things like that. So it was just wonderful that the rest of our community could see what they were doing, what each other were doing. And so it was great. And then, so that was the first task that we did. Brianna, did you want to share anything else about what we did?
Sure. So sort of as a result of starting that Human Guide while social distancing, we were contacted by an orientation mobility college in South Africa, of all places. And they wanted to know how we were adapting human guide techniques while social distancing. So we put together, Karen and I, an instructional video. And these days that seems like totally normal and easy, right? But back a year ago, I'd never done that.
Yeah.
These Zoom calls, I'd never done that. So we were just kind of, one thing led to the next, and there we were leading O&M instructional guide and human guide techniques to a college in South Africa. And that was really exciting. We've been communicating. There was a 9-hour time difference, so we couldn't have like a live event. So that's what led to this recording. And collaborated with them. They worked a lot with children. They sent us videos of their kids using hula hoops, distance, and it was just a really fun project that kind of developed as a result. So that was fun. And then Keema, I was going to ask you what your favorite thing is or was about the orientation mobility forums that we designed.
Thanks. Our team collaboration is one of my favorite things, so that we were able to create a variety of O&M forum topics. And I really love that students could attend forums at all the Braille Institute centers, learning something new and unique at each forum, even if they attended forums on the very same topic, and they got to meet new people and discuss things in a new way. So it was really awesome. Gricelda, how about you? What would you like to share on that?
Thank you, Keema. For me, I teach the Spanish O&M forums for Braille Institute in LA. So my favorite thing about the O&M forums is that I can reach out to more students at once. And it also gives me the opportunity to learn more about each of my students that I have not met in person due to the pandemic. So moving on to the next question for Karen. When I first joined the Braille Institute, I learned that you had just created a new O&M assessment. Can you tell me more about it, or tell us more about it?
Yes, thank you. So during the first few months, all we did was make phone calls. So we weren't really providing that one-on-one remote distance learning. It was just kind of, calling our students just to make sure that they were okay, they were safe, that they were still thriving in their home. And then after that, it was like, okay, everyone's doing fine. We got them in their places. Now, how do we provide O&M? And so with our brand new students that we were still getting new referrals, how do I find out more information about this student? So it was kind of revamping our initial O&M intake process, kind of, if you will. It was before, our students would be in our office, or we would go to their home and we would ask them a bunch of questions, or just kind of see the environment that what they were living. So and not all of our students have the access to Teams or a smartphone. So everything had to be over the phone. Like, how can we gather this information? So what we did is we created this new assessment, and I used, basically it was using my handy dandy O&M foundations books that we have, just kind of going through those assessment questions, what's relevant to our students. As many of you know, or may not know, the average age of our student is about 70 years or older. So it's a very different type of questionnaire. It's almost as if we're asking a lot of like aging in place type questions, like how are they doing, things like that. And then just asking them more information about themselves, like what is their lifestyle like? Who do they live with? Are there sidewalks around their home? How do they like to receive information? How do they, are they able to use clock face or angles, things like that, that just questions that we never really asked, because we would ask them to demonstrate their skills rather than verbalize their skills. So it was very different to do this new assessment. Some of them didn't have canes or didn't even know if they needed a cane. So the questions were really geared to, well, what type of vision loss do you have? Are you using a cane? And then where could we go from there? And of course, safety. of all things. Like, how are we going to keep you safe in your home? What is our capacity? What can we do with you at home? And what do we have to wait, until we can see each other one-on-one? So, so yeah, that was basically what we did as far as our phone assessment. And the beauty of that is that it's constantly evolving. The great thing about having new O&M instructors is when they get to the phone assessment, they're like, hey, we should add this question. This would be great. And, oh, we should ask that question. And even including like the Likert scale, like on a scale of 1 to 5, how safe do you feel traveling indoors? How safe do you feel traveling outdoors? Just gauging more on a personal level how they feel as far as safety. So that's how we changed our or developed our new assessment. So let's see. I'm already lost. I'm sorry. So Gricelda, for you, when you first joined Braille, I'm sorry, I'm going to Keema. To Keema, how did you first start providing O&M training to our students?
Thanks. So listening, as you said, was very important. Based on students' needs and feedback, we were able to tailor sessions and safely offer one-to-one and group training. At weekly team meetings, we shared resources, updates, and ideas, and also our concerns. Some students, along with their families and friends, wanted human guide training and information. Other students wanted to discuss their home area using pictures that they texted to us or using Google Maps to discuss their neighborhoods. Fall prevention was needed, and we all expanded our fall prevention programs to fill the need. And for example, San Diego, we took our 15-minute fall prevention program and we have expanded it to 90 minutes through our team collaboration. Back to Karen.
So like Keema said, we were still working. So we went back to working with some of our students that were on pause. We had them open, we had started to work with them, and then it was like, how do I continue working with them? So for me, it was really neat. I would I had one student that we were just in the process of learning Union Station. So I had created these tactile maps of Union Station. And so week by week, I would drive to her home, drop off her tactile map on her porch. And then using FaceTime, she had her little pouch with her camera, and she was able to demonstrate her knowledge of just learning the tactile map. And I could see where her hand was, and we can do some training that way. And it was like my aha moment, like, we can still do this. Yes. So week by week, it was okay. I would send her a new tactile map. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I felt like a tactile map queen at the time. I was like, have things coming out my ears, always making maps. And so, so now she was like, gosh, I really learned a lot. Like, I think I could navigate it if I really wanted to on my own. And I just thought, yes, so that to me was like the first score, like, amen, we could do this. And so, but then of course, we do have some students that are not technology savvy that need that additional help. And so luckily at Braille, we do have our connection point team that if they are having trouble, just answering a call, making a call, things like that, we can refer them to our technology department, and they can help our students that way. So, and then another nice thing is that we have, like Keema said, we share our resources. So we have our Microsoft SharePoint, where it's just kind of like our online resource database. And so if I create something, Keema can use it. And if Brianna has a transportation resource, she can do it. So if we're right now, we're providing service to so many other areas that we're typically, like Brianna, she's Santa Barbara, but she's also covering some of the LA Center students. So if she doesn't know about transportation, she can go onto SharePoint, she can look up transportation options in LA, and there she has it. So it's this shared space for us to just kind of communicate, communicate with each other, work on documents. And so yeah, it's been crazy, but it's been so wonderful at the same time. So now I'm going to go over to Gricelda and ask her, because she's still fairly new, but what were you doing even before Braille or even at Braille? What were you doing to help increase your O&M skills and things like that?
Thank you, Karen. So for me, I joined other organization meetings like APH, CAMS, NFB, and Wayfinder for professional development. Before COVID-19, I hardly had any time to participate in any O&M related professional trainings. So it was like the perfect opportunity for me. Another reason is that I wanted to see how other organizations were providing O&M instruction already remotely. For example, I learned how to create my own finger labyrinths, how to incorporate echolocation into my O&M lessons, and I learned more about spatial awareness when conducting O&M assessments to my students. Keema, how about you? What organization meetings did you attend?
Well, like you, I found NFB very helpful. They have a free white cane program that we made use of and are still making use of. The Northwest Association for Blind Athletes shared creative ideas to promote safe movement at home with live virtual exercise demos and YouTube videos with descriptions. OMSA, the O&M Specialist Association, shared ways to communicate all that O&M services offer. Tuesday Tea, hosted by CSB, offered guide dog school updates, bus travel training, travel apps, and more. JCC, the Jewish Community Center, shared creative ideas for promoting healthy movement and optimism. San Diego County Fall Prevention Task Force had ideas for our Braille Institute fall prevention workshops and one-to-one sessions. So some people, due to hearing or other technology issues, they might prefer one-to-one sessions over group ones. So we were able to incorporate this into in many ways. Metropolitan Transit for public transit updates, and as Gricelda mentioned, APH for creative ways to use their products, learning about maps, street crossing discussions, audio jack experiences, the San Francisco Lighthouse for the Blind for GPS apps and workshops on how to prepare for guide dog school. So it's been awesome being able to discover all these treasures. And Brianna, how has the O&M focus changed with the stay-at-home order?
Thanks, Keema. So I'm just going to point out the obvious here that Braille Institute was not doing anything digital, and we've been around, 100 plus years now. So that in itself is a total game changer for us. So besides giving teleservice one-on-one, giving our monthly forums and group classes, we had to get creative. I was teaching an in-person balance and mobility class. And when that ended, I turned that into a virtual balance and mobility class, which is basically yoga and O&M combined, where I teach exercises, fall prevention type exercises. And for me, it was really important that I got my students to stay active, stay moving, deal with stress that we were all dealing with in a healthy way. And so that led to me also trying to find more fitness and exercise resources for my students. I ended up putting together an exercise guide for students with vision loss specifically. So apps and online resources for people with vision loss that could access YouTube videos and other websites and classes that were specifically designed for people with vision loss. And there's actually a lot out there. And even back when I first started this research, I was surprised to find a lot of what I found. I didn't even know it was out there. So I now have this resource guide that I share with students. And then I also started to connect with local physical therapists in my area. That was a nice part about all this, was collaborating with other professionals. And I learned about the Otago exercise fall prevention program through one of our workshops with a local physical therapist. And that was something that I ended up taking an online course to learn more about the Otago exercise program. And then I began to implement some of that into my O&M lessons where students were wanting to build their strength and mobility. And then, yeah, just a lot more on fall prevention, because like Karen was saying, our average student is around 70. So that becomes kind of a focus on a lot of our students' goals in O&M in general. And then lastly, we had one of our colleagues, Hao, who's not here today. He did a lot of work on technology and GPS training. So he's kind of the master in finding the apps and all the GPS that's out there and different platforms for students to learn how to connect with different navigation, wayfinding type devices. And we invited in people from organizations that were affiliated with organizations as well that could talk about like We Walk, Cane, and Sunu Band and other things as well. And then again, collaborating with our Connection Point team, because a huge piece of this before they can even really work with an O&M specialist is getting this technology down, because it's important when we delve deeper into these instructional practices that we can see them on a video. So if they don't know how to turn on their video, well, there's an issue there. So thank God we have our technology team to help us through that. Yeah. And so I think I'm going to now pass the baton to Karen and see what you did to help students who didn't want to participate in the teleservice lessons. Or wait a second, did I just ask myself?
Yeah, that's okay. I'm just adding on to what you're already discussing.
Okay.
So what we did also is we changed our mode of delivery. Like Brianna was saying, we have our one-on-one that we're doing teleservice. We have our forums, which is that group classes that we provide. And then we also started a group class. So it's a group O&M class. Now that, for O&Mers out there, like group classes are not really advised, but we needed to do something. We were getting more and more students who wanted a guide dog, and they needed guide dog, they needed the O&M approval, our training to get the guide dog or even just apply for it. And we don't want to not address their needs. We needed to still do something. So what we started to do was, along with our forums, is we would gather information, and we had kind of like a series of forums. So like the first one was, am I ready for a guide dog? Some students just want a guide dog because they're like, hey, my doctor says I'm legally blind, I can get a dog. But really, is a guide dog right for you? So that was our first forum, is, are you ready for a guide dog? Is a guide dog right for you? And then we went into the different guide dog schools in California. Since we're here, what are their options? And then we also talked a little bit about some of the other guide dog schools, such as Seeing Eye, since they're the very first first guide dog school. Brianna did a partnership with Leader Dogs, where they came in and talked about guide dog schools that, or their school that can tether, so that if someone wants to run, that they provide that type of service. And then what we started, and then with that group class, what I did was, it's kind of like a prerequisite, if you want to call it, to street crossing. So what I do is it's a foundations of intersection analysis. And so over the course of the semester, what I do is I break down all the aspects of intersection analysis. So the first thing is, what are the shapes of intersections? And then we just kind of dig deeper into and make it more of a safe environment, right? Because there's nothing like being out in the corner and listening to traffic sounds and just being overwhelmed and scared, and anxiety kicks in. So this is a nice way to get it out of the streets and into the classroom, and where students can really dig deeper, they can ask questions. And again, it's in a safe environment. And so we just broke down all the sections of intersection analysis. And this was great because a lot of times, at Braille, we have a lot of students. So we can't give like a school district, we can't just spend a whole year long with our students. We can provide maybe 10 to 15 hours per student. So a lot of times we just give them that critical information, like just the guts, I guess you could call it, of what we want to teach. But now we can really take our time and go over like all the different APS signals and different types of intersections and just all the good nitty-gritty stuff. So that has been a bonus. And so yeah, I have found a lot of value in my group class. I know our other instructors, they have like an O&M basics class. And what's nice is, again, students can participate at any center. So if a Santa Barbara student wants O&M basics, well, then they can go to Leanne and Howe and do it that way. Gricelda is offering a GPS apps, and it's in English and Spanish. So it's great because we're getting both sets of students. So I can go on and on, like you don't understand. Like I just love everything that we're doing right now at Braille, but I gotta stop. So I'm gonna kick it back over to Brianna. And Brianna, what did you do to help those students who didn't want teleservice?
Thanks, Karen. I also can geek out on this stuff too, because I love collaborating with other agencies and individuals. So that's why I loved these forums and workshops, because I got to bring in guest speakers from all over the world, really. But for example, we had someone from Ambutech come. They did an amazing job of going through all kinds of different products that they have and future products they're designing. We had someone from WeWalk that was, I think at the time, they were either in Turkey or Istanbul or somewhere far away, lead a workshop for us. We had someone from SUNY Band, OmniSense, Guiding Eyes for the Blind. We had different paratransit agencies come in and give us updates, public transportation like LA Metro, our local transportation here in Santa Barbara. We had guest speakers, doctors. It was just really fun. I learned a ton in the process. And then later we were able to start offering CEU credit for our workshops, which is a new thing for Braille. So that's been really exciting. And now, Gricelda, do you want to tell us a little bit more about how that's led to some of these online videos?
Sure. Thank you, Brianna. So what I do is that for those students who are not interested in O&M training remotely, I call them once a month to check in with them to see how they're doing, if they have any questions, or to give them any updates regarding when we're going back for O&M training in person. And I also share classes and workshops that they can attend to remotely. And so now the next question for you, back to you, Brianna. How did we celebrate the White Cane Day last year, and how did Braille Institute make it more special for our students?
Cool. So before I forget, I do want to say that part of this whole collaboration had led to us putting things on YouTube. So if you have a chance after this or whenever, go check out our Braille Institute YouTube page. We have recorded a lot of these workshops there. So that was an exciting thing that happened in the process. And then in terms of celebrating White Cane Day, all O&M specialists know that's a special day, and we took it on as an entire month-long project. So the month of October at Braille Institute, good luck trying to get a hold of an O&M instructor because we are busy. Last year we launched, all kinds of things, but first ever virtual move-a-thon, which was just something that came out of this, and I guess this need that I had to get our students stay moving, active, engaged during the stay-at-home order. And so we had this virtual move-a-thon, over 100 people registered across the US. We had students from 11 to, I think, in their 60s, even older, I'm sure. The top 3 individuals logged over 8,000 minutes. So they had like a daily activity log, and anything counted as long as you were moving. So dancing, whatever, just get up and off the couch. And it was really exciting. We had prizes and things like that too. So that was fun. And then in addition, that was one of the things we did during the month of October, but we also had a whole range of workshops. We had someone from the Lions Club come in, and they read the proclamation for the White Cane Day. And I think I'm going to hand it over to Karen, because there's a lot more we did, and you're going to tell us all about it.
No, that's okay. You kind of covered it, most of it. We just had like a plethora of things to do during the month of October. We talked about the White Cane Law. We explained it, kind of just broke it down word for word almost, like what does it mean to be a pedestrian? What does it mean to have a predominantly white cane, and just broke down exactly what the White Cane Law meant. And so we had a bunch of workshops, and yeah, I think Brianna, you covered it. Keema, did I miss anything?
Well, I think like for extra fun, like Brianna was saying, we had prizes, and we had opportunity drawings for custom white canes for students, and made it extra fun, and got people excited. And we accepted an invitation to speak at the San Diego Guide Dogs for the Blind alumni meeting, and present on the White Cane Day, and provide an update on all the remote services being offered throughout Braille Institute, including O&M. Okay, back to Brianna. What other ways has Braille Institute adapted their services and programs to meet the challenges of the pandemic?
So we're fresh off the Cane Quest train. We had our virtual Cane Quest this year, first ever, which was interesting. But I will say that I had so much fun because I got to be with the youngins. Like we said earlier, our average student is in their 70s. So this student of mine was like, first, second, third grader. So I had to really like take it down a few levels and get fun and silly. And we had some little interactive games, and I got to engage with the family members. And this one student, their parents barely spoke English, so he was translating and getting these O&M skills across to the family in another language was really exciting, and having them do these things in the comfort of their own home. And it was really inspiring, and these kids were really excited. So that's always fun to see. Keema, do you want to talk about your experience in Cane Quest?
Yeah, so not only have our adult students experienced loneliness and disconnection during this time, but also our youth students too needed connection, meetups for learning, safe movement, and fun. And at Cane Quest, we played games with descriptions, sharing our energy and enthusiasm with each other. And I know we're going to talk about some resources, new resources we got, and I've already shared one that Lorna shared with us. I've shared it with 2 people already since Cane Quest was on Saturday. So it's just awesome how everything works together. Now to Karen for more.
So really, it's not much more. Just like Keema said, it was great because we had the section where the students went off, and then there was a time where it was just the O&Ms. And so we were just discussing amongst each other, wow, this is Cane Quest, and sharing ideas, resources, and it was a great teaching opportunity for some of these O&Ms to interact with the families and share with them the resources. And so it was Cane Quest. I can't tell you enough about Cane Quest. It's just such an amazing event. And so just to kind of bring this all to a close, Cane Quest is part of our national programs at Braille Institute. We have Cane Quest, which is our Orientation Mobility Challenge. We have Braille Challenge, which is, for our youth to show off their Braille skills, their Braille literacy skills. We have our child development team, which I know some of them are here today, and they're just absolutely phenomenal, going out to being an advocate, really teaching the parents and families how to advocate for themselves and for their families, for their children. So we have that department. And then we also have our youth program, which is, I know it's changing, but we have, our Saturday classes where some of the local school districts like LA Unified, they get together on a bi-weekly basis and they do some fun activities. I know sometime coming up soon, they're going to meet with NASA and do some crazy space stuff. It's going to be fun. So they just always have some great activities. But so Braille Institute is not only just for adults. We are a one-stop gamut. I don't know how else to say it. We provide services for pretty much birth to 100 and plus. So that's what we have for right now. Are there any questions? This is the time.
You should have a weekly seminar on Zoom of you for your dialogue and back and forth, and the planning you put into this was rad. It was fun, and I kept back of my mind is like, I want to see their prep document. They're on fire.
Yeah, you know what we used to have like during these workshops where we would pass the baton, we would pass our virtual white cane, and we would like try to hand it up to the person above us, and then the cane would like disappear. It was fun.
Yeah,
that's
it was fun.
Awesome. That's a really good idea.
Yeah.
There was a question that popped up. Somebody asked if you could, Karen, you had touched about foundations of intersection analysis. Could you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, so basically I just went over, I just broke it down. So I just try to simplify it as much as possible. And because it's a lot of information. And so again, I know sometimes we rush through it, especially working with adults. So it was just kind of breaking it down piece by piece, what is the shape? And then even focusing just on like plus shapes and and I made sure to preface, and I preface it after every, or I'm sorry, not after, before each lesson, like just because you're taking this class does not mean it's okay to go out and street cross. Like this is not giving you permission. This is just information. So I really, really stress that a lot. I try not to go into anything about sound or listening, just because I don't want to kind of give them that knowledge where they think they understand something, because it's so different, being in person and getting that O&M instruction. So it's just a lot of just basically like what it's called, foundations of intersection analysis, just learning those steps. So, and I just take it step by step, and it's nice. It's really nice. Yeah.
That's cool. This next question in the chat, I think you guys might cover more broadly, but it's a parent asking about services specifically for a 3-year-old. But can you guys talk about how you provide services to adults, and you talked about the youth programs for kids, but what specifically you do? Do you specifically do anything outside of King Quest for kids in K through 12?
Not for us. That would be our child development department. Yeah. We may help the child development program where we offer, workshops or like family trainings. But other than that, we don't provide any O&M services, because that's what your school district O&Ms, and we never want to step on toes or anything like that. So we just keep it to the adults.
Yeah, and that's what I would recommend for this mom, is going to her local school district to receive O&M services. I'm not sure where she's receiving early start services, if that's through the regional center or for the school district, but definitely go to your local school district to get an IEP and then get those O&M services.
Yeah, Perfect. It's hard when you guys present so awesomely. It's like, and I want my kid to be with you. I'm with you, Aria.
Aw.
You guys really did a fantastic job. It is amazing. Winnie and I were texting like, how are we getting all of these resources? Like, what the heck just happened? They just listed out dozens and dozens and dozens of resources. I started taking notes and I was like, nope, I'm out. I hope you guys can share the components of that list, and we can include that in the description of this video too, to give people hot button moments to click on and go from there.
Sure. Yeah. So, Adrian, if there aren't any other questions, we just had a last final little tidbit, and it was basically for us, why was it so important to figure out how to provide remote services for our students? And so for me, my answer to that is, even though we are not considered essential workers, I feel that O&M is essential to our students. And so we just had to find a way, it was like almost, am I going to get fired? Because I wanted to go out and see my students so bad, but we couldn't, but we had to figure out something. And so, so we just did our best, because working with adults, very similar to working with students, they become our family members, and we get to know them on a personal level. They're putting their faith in us, and we have to develop that trust. We have to earn their trust, and so we had to. There was no other way. We just had to figure something out. So Gricelda, Keema, what is your answer to that?
So that we could continue to regularly connect with our students to encourage and support them in making progress towards achieving their goals. So like Karen was saying, even though we're not doing street crossings, the component of intersection analysis that, she put together, those sessions are awesome. And I've used them in group classes and one-to-one. But so students could still feel forward progress. And to use this time as an opportunity to discuss in detail and safely work on O&M topics that they and their families needed. Thanks. And so to Brianna.
Thanks, Keema. So it was just really amazing to see how far we could reach students from all around the world, and to be able to just further our reach as an O&M instructor, I think has been really amazing to see. And, we're going to be continuing to offer teleservice even when we do return to in-person work. And this is going to be part of our forever future now. There's always going to be the student who can't get to the center, who can't get to the O&M specialist, and for various reasons, whether it's, health related, transportation, or whatever. So at least we now have a pretty solid online file of classes, workshops, content that we can now share with these students. And hopefully in the future, Braille, I would actually take that back. All O&M specialists around the world, I hope you're essential workers. And I know it's been challenging to not be able to work with our students in person, but I think, yeah, we have shown it that it is possible. So Gricelda, do you have anything to add to that?
I sure do. Thank you, Brianna. For me, it's important to figure out how to provide remote services to stay connected to our students, and also to be inclusive to all of our students' needs, especially our Spanish speakers who sometimes are left behind, unfortunately. COVID-19 has really challenged each and one of us, right, to really think outside the box and to figure out new ways how we can continue working with our students. And that's all I have.
So so Adrian, I just want to use this time to thank you for having us. And yeah, we had a wonderful time. Thank you.
That was rad. Anytime Seriously, you guys, you have a spot next year. Come up with a topic. You guys did a fantastic job. We do not have a session next week for Tuesday Tea because y'all ought to be in the National Coding Symposium, hanging out in that space. And so for those of you who are not aware, we are co-planning the National Coding Symposium along with APH. It's a fantastic space for anyone interested in technology, anyone interested in work. Career exploration is such a, can be a difficult space for us to really talk about as TVIs and O&Mers. And so to get our kids thinking about a job, this one happens to be in technology and coding. So it's perfect for the kids who are going to geek out about that. But for anybody thinking about work, this is a great space to see a lot of top-end professionals and a lot of different panels talking about the work experience and what it takes to get employed. So check it out. We'll put a link here in the chat. It's aphconnectcenter.org/coding. And if any of you have a kid that could use a Braille device or a video magnifier, we have a few award opportunities that have yet to be taken that are there as well, due this Friday. The week after that, we are coming together. Winnie is finally taking the lead and giving a presentation. Winnie's going to work with our information technology specialists in Sacramento and talk about some nuts and bolts that we often ignore and don't get around to, which is what exactly does an accessible document look like? And we're getting off the beaten path of the internet, and we're going to talk about Google Docs too. Nobody wants to talk about Google Docs because it's not perfect, and we think it's important to talk about it and present and share about the best we can do with Google Docs and the Google environment, because we're all using it, and it needs to be a good old college try if it can't meet perfect accessibility. So check that out on the 18th, and then we're just wrapping it up. We have one more at the end of May. With the team from Cal State LA and the Braille Brain program, which should be something fun for summer. So thank you again, team from BIA, and thank you everybody for coming.